everybody, so in this video I'm going to show you how to do basic selects, also distinct values, comments, which is ironic because I'm writing comments right now, order by clause, and the where clause. So jumping right into it, if you want to do like the most basic select possible, you would do select star from whatever table, in this case products. And what this does is it's taking all of the columns from the product table, and then since we're not filtering it anymore, we're just doing a semicolon right after the table name, it's going to bring back all the data from all of the columns in that table. So if I run this, it's bringing back all the columns and all the data in that column, in that table from those columns. But then, like, let's say you only wanted this to display like the product ID, then you would do select prod ID from products, semicolon, run that, and it's only going to bring back the prod ID. And you can do this for however many columns you want. So I could just select prod ID, comma, prod name, comma, prod price, and then after the last column, you don't put a comma. So you do from products, semicolon, run that, and it's going to bring back all the data from products, but for only those three columns that you specified. So yeah, that's pretty basic. And like another column in this table is like vend ID. So I guess this is important in case you just want to examine certain columns in a table and you don't want to bring back everything, because then sifting through all that data can be kind of stressful. Another thing that you can do, and this is getting into distinct values, is let's say you have these vendor IDs. Notice how there's BRS01, BRS01, DLL01, and then it's like duplicated, meaning that there are multiple entries for these specific vendor IDs. You can do select distinct vend ID from products, semicolon. And what this does, it only brings back the distinct values. So there, as you can see, there were three distinct values, and the only reason why so many records showed up when you're selecting vendor ID is because the BRS01 shows up 3 times, DLL01 shows up 4 times, and FNG01 shows up twice. But if you're adding a distinct, then it's essentially grouping by the vendor ID and only going to bring back each distinct value once, because they're distinct at that point since you specified that. So that means it'll show each one of these once. There is a bit of confusion when working with distinct, especially if you're working with multiple columns. If you're working with multiple columns, you only need to write distinct once. And let's say you did prod ID and vend ID from products, and then run this. So notice how you have distinct prod IDs and distinct vend IDs, but it might be confusing here because there's BRS01, BRS01, and then all these vend IDs that are duplicated. The logic here is that this row as a whole is different from any row here. This row as a whole is different from any row here. So when you're using distinct for multiple columns, it works, the output works like as a set. It's like a set. This set is not duplicated amongst any other set in this output. So it's not necessarily just focusing on this column and this column, meaning these need to be non-duplicates and these need to be non-duplicates. What it means is these two values that came back together in row 1 are not duplicated at all in the rest of the 9 rows, and so on and so forth. So that's where distinct values can be confusing, especially if you're doing multiple columns. Here, I can do another example of vend ID and prod price. So as you can see, vend ID shows 2 values show up for DLL01 as well as BRSO1. And again, here BRSO1, so it shows up 3 times, but DLL01 499 prod price, this set will only show up once, because notice how DLL01 again shows up here as 349. Let's say I take out the distinct. Yeah, notice how you get more records because DLL01 has 349 here, but since there are 3 records with that exact same amount, it'll show up 3 times. Whereas if I add the distinct, it'll only show up once because it's looking at it as a set. So the next thing we're going to discuss really quickly is comments, and comments have no function in the actual code itself. So I could write select prod name from products, semicolon, and then be like, this is a comment, and run this. And as you can see, everything will still come back because it's not actually looking at this as something that needs to be run or executed. So yeah, 2 dashes is what makes a comment. But if you want really big comments, especially if you're writing a stored procedure or something very hefty where you need an external notepad ++ file to write the procedure, you would do something like /* and then */ so whatever's in between all of this is a comment. So you can do hello, this is a basic select statement using SQL for the first time. And then after that, select prod name from products, semicolon. And if I highlight the whole thing, it's only going to focus on select prod name from products and run that and bring back prod name. So yeah, basically 2 ways to do comments: double dashes, and then whatever comes after it in the same line is also a comment. For example, if I write here, as you can see, it's not coming up as a comment. Or /* and then */ whatever comes after this and in between the 2 of them is a comment, and it won't be recognized as something that needs to be run. So even if I write select star from products, nothing is going to happen if I try to run this. I'm trying to run it right now and nothing's happening. So that's how you do comments in SQL. Okay, next we're going to talk about the order by clause. And order by can be pretty simple, especially if you're just ordering by 1 column. It can be a little bit confusing if you're doing multiple. So let's just start with 1 column. So if I do select prod ID, prod price, prod name from products, after this you write order by. Notice how it turns blue, indicating it's a function. Order by prod ID, semicolon. So prod ID is now ordered alphabetically, because I guess this was, the SQL developer is just intuitive enough to do it alphabetically. And then also, even the numbers within those are ordered numerically. So BN comes before BR, which obviously comes before the R's. RG comes before RY. So this column is ordered, or this data set is ordered by the prod ID. Now notice if I take that out, it just comes back as is from the table, the data in the table. So if you wanted it ordered, you can do by prod ID, semicolon, and it'll come ordered by prod ID. Now you can do multiple columns as well. So let's say I do prod price and prod name, semicolon. So prod price comes first, so it should start with the lowest price and then work its way up. And then within each price, it should be, since we have prod name, the prod name should be ordered alphabetically. So notice how the first record is 349, since that's the lowest price. The second record is also 349, but since we also ordered by prod name, the first record that shows up, if I can get this back, the first record that shows up is starting with a B, whereas the second record starts with an F. And that's because we decided to order by prod name as well as the second priority. Notice how after 349 we have 499, and there's only one 499 record, so that was associated with that. And then 949 has two records, and the one that came first was King, because K is before Q when you're ordering it alphabetically. Additionally, you can, Oracle is intuitive enough to assign numbers to the columns. I'm not sure how other DBMS or database management systems are with this, but if I do order by 2 and 3, semicolon, what this indicates is order by 2, meaning the second column that we have listed, prod price, and 3, the third column we have listed. So it'll order by the prod price and the prod name. So here we have 349 as the lowest price. And so these are coming first. And within that, we have B, F, and R, and those are ordered alphabetically. Another thing you can do is order by either ascending, which is the default, or descending, which is the opposite of what the default is. So if I do this against like prod ID, prod price, prod name from products, and then order by prod price descending, what this means is it'll start with the highest prod price and work its way down. So if I run this, see, it starts with $11.99 and then it orders the data downwards. So the 349 records are the last records that show up. Additionally, you can still add another column here. So let's say I add prod name. So what this will do is it'll order it just the way it is here, but the prod names will be rearranged so that if it's like if alphabetically, it'll be ordered alphabetically and also numerically. So yeah, $11.99 is still top, and that's the only record associated with that. But for $9.49, notice how there's two records, and since we also ordered by prod name, K comes before Q, so King Doll comes before Queen Doll. And then with the 349s, B comes before F, which comes before R alphabetically, so it's ordered that way. And then you don't have to write ascending because ascending is the default, but if I did ascending, then it'll just default to order by prod price, because if I remove the ascending, it's going to come out with the same data as it did just now. Yeah, exactly the same. Okay, now we're going to discuss the where clause, and the where clause is easily the most important part of SQL because it's all about filtering and filtering data, and using where is the easiest way to filter data. So let's say I do prod, select prod name, prod price from products, and let's say I only wanted products where the product price is $3.49. So I would do where, and notice how it turns blue, where prod price, that column, equals $3.49. And this doesn't need to go into single quotes because it's that column is only accepting numerical values. So then semicolon, if I run this, it's only bringing back the product names and their price if their price is $3.49. So that it's kind of redundant to bring back product price. So let's say I just want to bring back product name. Yeah, so these are the three products where the product price is $3.49. So that's a really basic select statement with the where clause. The equal sign and other where clause operators are very important when doing the where clause. So I could do something like where select product name and product price from products, where prod price is less than 10. So this is going to bring back the product name and its price from products, where the product price is less than $10. So if I run that, these are all the products where they're less than $10, and this is their respective prices. This keeps, okay, there we go. So as you can see, 8-inch teddy bear, $5.99, 12-inch teddy bear, $8.99, king doll, $9.49. So the point of this is it's brought back all the products that are less than $10. Now you can specify this further, and if you want less than and or equal, this is how you do it: less than or equal. That's how it reads, to $10. So with this in mind, it should bring back products that are also equal to $10. Well, I mean, I guess in this case, there is no product that's equal to $10, but this is how you would bring it back normally. Now, if you want, you can also do not, so select vend ID, prod name from products, where the vend ID is not equal to DLL01. So this is going to bring back the vendor ID and the product name from products, where the vendor ID is not equal to this. So let's say you wanted to look at this information, but you didn't care for this specific vendor. You wanted to look at the other vendors. This is how you would write the not statement. So not equal to DLL01. And as you can see, the vendor IDs that are brought back are BRS01 and FNG01. None of the records that come back will have this vendor ID because you specified not bringing that back. I think there are other ways to write this. So you could write exclamation point equals. Yeah, so that worked as well. It just depends on if you're using Oracle or a Microsoft SQL Server. They all tend to have their own intuitive way of reading this. Also, if you wanted to find products between a certain price point, or 2 price points rather, you can do select product name, product price from products, where prod price between 5 and 10. So this is going to bring back the prod name and their price from the products table, where their prices are between $5 and $10. And so this brings back these products and their prices. So $5.99, $8.99, $9.49, $49. So these are all between 5 and 10. And so these are the products. You can also see if there's anything with null, a null value. And in this case, it's not bringing back any records because all the products name have a specific price. And to confirm that, let's just bring back all the records. So there's 9 records total, and all of those records have prices associated with them. So that's why when you do where prod price is null and run that, nothing will come back because none of the records for price are blank or null in this case. For an example where you could find one, let's do select star from customers. This will bring back everything in the customers table. And as you can see, customer email, there are 2 records where they have null emails. But looking at all the data like this can be a bit inconvenient. So let's say select cust name, which is one of the columns, from customers, where cust email is null, semicolon. So now if I run this, it's bringing back the customer name, kids place, and the toy store, where the customer email is null. And just to confirm that, I might just add the cust email column here and see cust email was null for these two records. And to confirm it even further, I could even remove where cust email is null. So select cust name and cust email from customers. So this is going to bring back all the customers and their emails. And as you can see, Village Toys has an email, but as we saw in the previous query, Kids Place had a null value under cust email, and Toy Store had a null value under cust email. Fun for All had two emails associated with them. So that's how null values work in the where clause. So that is how you do basic selects and work with the distinct statement, and also how to do comments. Thank you for watching. In the next video, I will teach you how to do statements with order by and the where clause. Thank you.